And we appreciate your business, and we really want to let you know what's going on. And, we have a many-year commitment to provide your back-end information services for your operation. And we'll let two key people from FBS will be speaking. One is Mark Traviolia, who's our new Director of Development at FBS. He joined us in December. He comes to us from a long career in the telecommunication business, and not necessarily, although he grew up in Oklahoma, and he's really did a little work in the oil business, I think, and but we're introducing him to farming, and he's going to. And then Mike Boggs, our Director of Professional Services, will also give you a little update of what we're doing. So here's Martin. We had to take him and put him in a real tractor with GPS and see what was going on. So he does know what seed corn looks like. He's writing code to do that. So it's very helpful to have him. So go ahead, Martin, and give us a preview.
Back here for a minute. So I don't know if Norm realizes it or not, but I'm actually from a farming family. My mother was born on a farm. And whenever I drive through Warren County, it reminds me she's from Indiana, from Warren County. And the cemetery outside Prince, Indiana is full of Martins. My last name is her name. So this isn't a completely new experience for me. I'm going to follow up, starting with what Gary was talking about, but I'm going to take it a little more technically, because that's my bent. But I'm trying to keep it simple so that I don't bore you all. We're trying to keep our focus on activity-based cost accounting. And I know it's a simple concept, but the concept is to get the activities into the FBS system. So, the Internet of Things is, every device is connected to the Internet. Everything's generating information. It's all being stored somewhere. We need to collect that information and get it into FBS in the form where we need it. It's just basic activities that we want to compute the costs for. Now, FBS isn't going to talk to every device that's ever been made. We don't have the resources for that. It's not our expertise. So we're going to partner with people like InService to get that data in. So, all right. So we've got our equipment in the field. InService is nice. They've got a big data center. I hope. I haven't actually. But they have a presence on the web where they're running a web server. They're up all the time. We can talk to them anytime we want. Here back on your PC running FBS software, whenever we need to download data from InService, we can talk to them with machine-to-machine communication. The point is in this picture is that InService is running the service on the web that we talk to. And InService is collecting all the data, whether it be from equipment or whether it's entered by a human being. They really don't care. They're just capturing the activities that are taking place. And that data is getting in the FBS where we can assign costs to it and do the managerial accounting we need to do. Now, one of the key things here is from your PC you already know you can reach anywhere on the internet. So anybody who's got a web server we can talk to. The technology we're using is the same technology that's in your browser on your PC, so we can pull down the data. The key thing is that this is responsible for being up all the time. You can turn this off. You can turn your PC off whenever you want to. When it's up, it will talk. Now, coming in version 11, right now, the way we've delivered it, you do have to hit a button in FPS because it's data flow. In version 11, it's going to run in the background like a virus scanner, and it will download the data in the background, and only if it needs you to intervene. For example, if you have an activity, an application record for a field, you put fertilizer on a field that FBS doesn't know about the field, then FBS will give you a little notification so you can go in and map the field. Now, we'd like to do the reverse, where we have FBS software on the web server, and different devices can talk to it, particularly your tablet, your iPhone, because there's probably data that would be more convenient for you to enter into FBS than to have it on a piece of paper and take it back to your county office. So when you're somewhere in your farm and there's data you want to capture, you can get it in there. Whoop. Oh, I recovered from that one. So, but today the two things that we do are the remote desktop and the dashboard. They come off service. We work with Ag Campus where you can actually have your software installed right off of Ag Campus. You don't even have to have that stuff. The smartphone and tablet apps are more future thinking. We really won't go any more into it other than to say that's one of the reasons to get on the web server. You'll see an example of you can access the dashboard data using those devices. But more importantly is working with Southern Illinois Skill, one of the things they're waiting on me to do is to get some of this set up so that when they're running on a PC, that they can send data to that web server. So the communications is an interesting problem in terms of FBS and web servers. We want to keep it simple. Okay. Saw the picture. I purposely made that hardware big. The reason is because it's not a simple thing to set up a highly available hardware that's up all the time so that people can talk to you whenever they want. And nor is it simple for FBS if our customers have various diverse installations for us to try and customize our software to work with every one of them. So our solution is to work with vendors like Ag Campus, Microsoft, Amazon, to have a hybrid, what we call a hybrid cloud solution. And that's where we're running some software in the cloud so that a company like Southern Illinois Scale can send us data. Or you can query that data off your tablet or iPhone. But the bulk of the data is still on your PC with FBS. And what we do is synchronize periodically between your desktop and your virtual web server in the cloud. That's a much simpler operation for both us and you. All of the difficulties of maintaining that are handled in a cloud environment by a vendor that specializes in doing that. So, coming from telecommunications, I can just give you one example. One of the things we love to sell people was the second vendor. Because whenever you're connected to the internet, you're running 24/7, you really need two internet providers coming two different ways to your building, and hopefully they'll share a common central office, because we've had central offices burned down before, so you really want diversity in your connection. So those are all things you don't have to worry about. Companies have already taken care of that for you. That lets customers or FBS partners push data all the time, anytime to FBS, because this is always up. But you can turn your PC off. When it comes back up, we can resync it. One thing Norm pointed out to me is folks have questions about where their data is. You keep your data separate from other people's data in the cloud so that when we're synchronizing your data here, up there, it's your data still in the cloud. So it's your own virtual environment. All right. I'm going to segue to that into version 11. This is kind of a list of technical features. One of the things we're trying to do is modernize the software a little bit. For a long time, We've supported a pretty strong backward compatibility, and we continue to do so. But Windows XP has been out of support for Microsoft for 2 years now. So it constrains us to try and continue to support Windows XP. So we're going to distribute version 11, so we'll only install on Windows 7 and up. We don't want any customers by accident, new ones running on XP or Windows 7. Now, if you're still in a situation where you're running on those older OSs, we're not telling you you have to contact us. We're making sure the core stuff for this release can still run. But there are some new things like the service interface that won't. Okay. So if you want to do the modern cloud-based stuff, you're going to have to be on a more modern version of the OS. This is kind of technical. We're updating from Jet 3.5 to Jet 4.0. I'll get back to it in a minute, but basically that's an attempt on our part to increase stability. We've started to see issues in some Windows servers configuration. We're using an older version of the Jet database. We're going 4.0, which is fully supported as a component of the Windows operating system. We're also upgrading from the .NET framework, because we're using new features. So our .NET code is going to get more modern. And the last thing is we're merging version 8 and version 10. It's been difficult for us to try and maintain 2 versions. There have been issues with version 10. Version 10 has the newer Jet database, though. So we need to go from 3.5 to 4.0, have compatibility between 10 and 8.
I think John has a question.
Yeah.
So for you and Kim, if you're on a Compass, does any of this matter, or will it take care of itself?
Since Ken is seeing this right now, we'll have to talk. We don't think it's going to impact a Compass particularly. They're not back on server 2003, which would be the equivalent of Windows XP. So they're on a more modern server. So installing the .NET Framework 4 shouldn't be an issue.
So far, it looks okay, I think.
So far, you think you're okay?
I think so.
It should be okay.
So, I mean, I think that's important though for
Yeah.
Yes, it
customers
is.
because there's an XP machine that remotes into
Right.
Ag Compass and not have to worry about any of this.
Right. If you're on an XP machine that remotes into Ag Compass, you shouldn't have to worry about it. But the flip side of it is, if you're on an XP machine that's remoting into a more modern Windows server, if you're on that latest Windows server, you're already going to start to see constraints from Microsoft in that environment. So the message kind of is Microsoft wants to kill off Windows XP very badly. That's part of the reason for the free upgrade to 10. So they didn't want 7 to become another XP. They want to try and keep people moving forward. All right. So why do you care about Jet 4.0? Well, one of the things that we stayed on 3.5 was because it maintained backwards compatibility with older versions of Access. Now, basically, if you've got a version of Access before Access 2000, it's not going to be able to read our files. Hopefully, everybody's beyond Access 97 and is on 2000 or higher. Well, now with 4.0, modern versions of Access will recognize those files as Access 2000 files. Same version was also used in Access 2003, but the Jet engine itself showed up as 2000. As I mentioned before, Windows 7.NET, we're going to use those features in the service interface, and we plan to use them elsewhere. There's a lot of features that were introduced in Windows Vista and Windows 7 as the follow-on, where you can have intelligent-looking icons on your taskbar that have jump menus that can do things with the application. You can have notifications. We're going to try and make it more Windows-friendly. Probably the thing that's going to appeal to everyone here is this is really setting us up so that between the version 11 release or the next release, we can roll out faster reports with an improved user interface, which is going to involve replacing old Visual Basic 6 code with some common controls. The other thing is it's a stepping stone to version 12. Right now, the setup data in FBS, I'm sure this is probably near and dear to Kent's heart. The setup data is in flat files. It's not really accessible very easily. But we're going to move that into the NDB files in version 12, and we're also going to add support for SQL Server for folks that want a higher-end type of database. So if you're running multiple users with Jet 4.0 in a network scenario, you can do that. Microsoft doesn't like you to do that. So once you get beyond a handful of users, you really need to move to SQL Server. So on the topic of reports, okay, I'll show you a couple of examples of some reports that Greg and I have looked at. Crop history report in version 8 is 2.6 seconds. This is an example of some problems we've had with version 10. It's 27 seconds in version 10. There are some reports that are pretty much unusable in 10. The reason for that is 10 was done with an automated conversion tool, and in the intervening 10 to 15 years, the optimum way of accessing the database has changed, and so when you go back and rework it so that you do it the current modern way, you can drop it from 2.6 down to 1.9. So basically, version 10 and version 11 versions are the same .NET code, but one's 10 times faster than the other. And the version 11 one is about 25% faster than version 8. So that's a small improvement. Okay, and I want to emphasize, don't expect to see that in the initial distribution of version 11. What's going to happen in version 11, you'll be able to tell your reports when they come out, because there'll be user interface changes, they'll look different. You'll still have the same data, but when you go to print them, you'll definitely see a difference. Well, I'll show you in a minute. But we'll be rolling those out. The version 11 release is basically to rebuild all the code so it's ready for that change. Another report we looked at was the standard vendor cost monitor report. That one's sensitive to the data, but on some of our test data, it takes over an hour to run in the Visual Basic 6 version. The .NET version is kind of interesting. It runs pretty fast on Windows 7, slightly faster on Windows 10, but that's 3 times slower on a Windows 8 laptop we've got. We're still investigating that. So, as you can see, there's some sensitivities in the reporting environment. Is it sensitive to disk capacity, memory, and so on? We just know on somebody's laptop it's particularly slower, although it's still faster than the Visual Basic 6. So we think reporting is going to get better. It's going to get faster. And that's going to be our focus, of getting version 11 out the door and getting the reporting environment modernized. I'm going to show you an old report here. This is from Traviolia. And this report is what you get when you say print. Okay? You don't get to see it beforehand. You're not exactly sure what it's going to look like. You just print it. You get it. In the new environment, there's going to be a print preview, print export. So this window will come up. It will be the same on every report. You'll be able to page through the report. There's an export option where you can export a PDF or Excel or whatever. But you'll also be able to see the report, see how the columns are lining up. This is just from the development environment, just playing around with it. So it doesn't look particularly pretty in here, but in the production version it will be. So that's why I say you'll be able to tell when the new report comes out, because when you go to print, you'll get this kind of picture. So, any questions?
point out that he's still there. Greg, who's going to do all this work? And Greg's been hard at work, and he's been behind a lot of things we've done with lifecycle budget and on trust manager and working on the code. Nice transition, helping Mark get up to speed. And guys are doing a tremendous job. So this is an opportunity to ask questions. Our typical process of this meeting was that we'd have a list of 100 different features that we put in the past year and point screens. We don't have that many this year because we're doing some really big, important things. And I appreciate your patience. I think this report speed is one of the things you'll notice right away. There's just a lot of things. Yes, John?
It sounds like it's not backwards compatible, right? So once you go to 11, what's the new path? So, can you read prior version data?
Yes, with 11, you can read prior version data. We're going to convert the data in 11 from 3.5 to 3.4. If you don't, the data files themselves will stay at 3.5. Okay, and you can read them. But here's the tricky thing. Okay, any new code, i.e. .NET code, on a modern Windows OS, whenever it creates an MVB file, it's going to create a version 4.0. Okay?
So if our clients send us data on our own system and we bring it in and we convert it and we work on it and send it back to them, they better be on new code.
They had better be on Access 2000 or above. Basically, what's kept us from doing this for a long time is the fact that we had folks using Access 97. Okay, and I think that's far enough in the past now. It shouldn't be disruptive.
Most people that have, most people that have FBS don't know the version of Access.
I understand. And this isn't really tied to Access because Microsoft split the JET database off from Access. But what caused us to stay on 3.5 as long as we did was that you used to be able to open the files in Access 97. Okay? And you still could today. Okay? We're going to change that so you can't, by the way, you can't open them today in like Access 2013 or 2016. We're going to change it so that you can open them in 2013 and 2016, but you'll be no longer able to open them in 97.
So pretty universally, it's going to be a year of running stuff.
Yes. If you don't upgrade, we don't recommend. Yeah.
Just say it. Just upgrade. Come on.
Certainly, the one thing you can't do is run the old software with the new files. Okay.
Right.
It is potentially possible to run the new software with the old files, but you don't gain any real benefit from doing that. So we're going to convert the data as part of the upgrade process.
That's important. Not many people in this room, but there are a lot of people in this room.
We still have some DOS customers that contact us about upgrading. So, which, if you're still on DOS, I'd recommend getting off of it because it's hard to find software or hardware that runs the DOS version anymore. Even the hardware is evolving to the point where you can't run good old DOS on it.
That's it. We don't know. We don't know how many people are still in Dawson. They thought they'd fallen off the face of the earth.
And I converted, we have one machine in the office that would run DOS. And all with Greg's help, we converted one that it was a pain.
Well, we had one, we did the conversion, and then they saw the Windows version and decided they'd rather retire than deal with it.
He was in his upgrades.
Yeah, and of course we're getting pulled along. We have to do this. And just the world is moving environment. It's really so. It's yes, it can.
Yeah, so all of the your data be ported up into Jet 4.0 database? So if you do the upgrade migration and the flat files obviously go into there, that it all moves, or does
For version 11, the flat files are remaining flat files. The data that's currently in Jet is getting upgraded, but we're not yet moving the flat files. That's 12.
And even when that step takes place, the flat files are still, they will be read.
But, I mean, clearly we'd like to move to 12 as quickly as we can, but 11 is a stepping stone. We need to get it on Jet 4.0 to be stable on more modern versions of the OS software. Because what happens is Microsoft, as is their typical policy, is making updates to the last version, in this case Jet 4.0, as new versions of the OS come out. They're not updating Jet 3.5, and they do make changes. So we want to get on board so that we don't have some problems that we're starting to see on like Windows 2012 R2. We're not sure it's necessarily the version of Jet, but it seems like the Jet database gets corrupted from time to time, and we think this will help.
That's a common characteristic of Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
It just does that, and nobody ever knows why.
It took us many hours to figure out the problem with one client. It was a server update, and all of a sudden it started timing out. And it turned out, I mean, you don't get all that information on the first phone call.
No, it can be difficult to troubleshoot. The folks, you get down into the technical details. There's the protocol that Microsoft uses to communicate between the client and the server, and they've had to get a lot more open about it because they got into trouble with the antitrust folks in the European Union about it. So they had to publish the protocols, and they're on version 3 of the protocols. And version 1 was Windows XP. So they went through 2.1, and now 3. 3 was Windows 8 and Server 2012. And there are changes in how it caches files. These are files, but it's important that they're not cached. And so, troubleshooting one thing, we found a copy of the file, even though it's installed on the server, we found a copy of the file on the client machine. So there are things that Microsoft is doing under the hood, trying to make the software faster in certain configurations and so on, that we want to get ahead of and make sure we're on the Jet database.
Well, continue on hold here,
Okay.
Martin. So we got the techie side. I want to get the human resource side, and that's what bring Mike up to describe what we're doing on it.
Okay. I was just thinking about this as I sit here. Probably should end the day with the IT guy and the accountant. It's probably crash there. Nor should you start the day with the accountant, which is a week tomorrow.
Yeah.
But FBS is not a product that you can run into Staples and pick up off the shelf. It takes a lot of support, a lot of consulting to get things up and running. And that's where my role comes in, is to get current users up to the level they want to be at, and also, more importantly, new users that they get set up properly, get off the ground and operating, and feel like they're getting a full benefit out of FBS. I was thinking about, Norm asked me to talk about the future of FBS, and Martin's got all the technical information and all the bells and whistles, and I'm providing that human element, or that accounting perspective to everyone, and that's kind of the boring part compared to the technical side. But lost my train of thought. This next week is going to be my 2-year anniversary, as Dave pointed out. Earlier today, I finally met my probationary period, so I can start consulting and working with clients on FBS inside field. Yeah, So what I was thinking about the user conference and the future of FBS, and my perspective, it all boils down to one thing. I want to build relationships. I've got several people in the room here that I've been working with for the last couple of years. I truly enjoy working with everyone. And as Norm and I talked about transitioning his responsibilities over to me, we started talking about what the possibility would be to have a virtual controller relationship with our FBS clients. Is that going too far, or is that what our clients need? And it really boils down to every company and what their particular needs are. But so far, a year ago, we had 3 virtual controller customers, and they were all new, kind of in its infancy. And today we have 6, and we have 2 more in the works. But it's starting to build momentum, and I'm proud of that. It's something that I don't think we really thought that was the direction we're going to go, but overall it's a great thing for FBS, and it's great for the client that we have that relationship, that we're able to help them achieve what they're trying to achieve with the software. And yesterday we had a session on data mining, getting reports out of FBS, and that's eventually where we get to after we get things set up and functioning properly, is to get to the reporting side of it. So I'd be happy to talk to you about the virtual controller relationship. It's the first question I usually get is, what are you gonna do for us? And it really boils down to what are your needs, because we have 6 relationships, and all 6 of them are completely different. So I'd be happy to talk to you about the virtual controller relationship. I think we're going to talk about it a little bit more tomorrow, and that's about all I have. So I think Norm's going to talk about.
Yeah, well, okay. Any more questions for Mike? We're trying to figure out what this business looks like, and it's definitely not a mass market, and we think we've got some unique, besides the technology and the integration, to be able to have that, be able to plug in expertise. And we appreciate the relationship with Lotta Harris and how that their commitment to FBS. And our goal is to make people successful. And Sarah's doing a lot of new things. She's conducting interviews with people and trying to figure out what it is to get people up and running and keep them going. And it does take a lot of effort and momentum to realize to do what you need to do to run your business, and where you can automate that. There's always weak spots, and we want to help fill those gaps. But this is the last time that we're meeting as a group, except for lunch tomorrow, because we're going to breakout sessions. Then we'll be on the ship, of course. So if it goes down,
Get on top there.
well, I think it'll be a little hard to stay above the waterline. But anyway, so want to ask, request a couple favors from you. One is there's a valuation form, and we really need feedback. We appreciate it. We realize we don't hit the mark every time. We're trying some new things this year. Appreciate the integration partners. Appreciate Kent's challenging presentation. A lot of things to work on. So appreciate you filling it in. And the other thing is that this is, as we can tell, this is our 14th year as having a user conference. We've had training over the years, but this is the first 14 years we've been in the Quad Cities holding these user conferences, and it's grown. And to commemorate that, we have there's a discount coupon, and if you place an order this week, you'll get 14% off any FBS software. So we appreciate you get some ideas, things you're thinking about starting. This is a good excuse to get things started. We appreciate your business. It's a challenging business, and unfortunately, the people that are not upgrading and are in the tail end of their business development are not here. But you guys are really we really appreciate your feedback, and we want to help you be successful. And we really want to encourage you. If you've got a peer, a friend, associate, neighbor who could use our software, put in a good word for us. We set up a web meeting with them. We'll analyze where they're at. And so anyway, thank you very much for coming today.